Welcome to the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zorkel Profiles. I'm here with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, and author, and of course, entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. Tracy, our very special guests today are Donna Golik and Daniel Golik. Did I pronounce that right, guys?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
Woohoo! While many brands talk about being family run, few can match the story behind Chillin' Nitrogen Ice Cream, a nearly $7 million brand born from a Shark Tank style pitch between a college student and his parents. Donna and her son Daniel, this mother and son duo behind Chillin', launched the concept in 2012 with a single location in Pinecrest, Florida, that brought in the first year $350,000. Its early success laid the foundation for what is now a nearly $7 million brand in 2025, with 17 locations across 4 brands and nearly 200 employees system-wide. And of course, you are still growing. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Wow, that is quite an accomplishment. So, first of all, my favorite subject to talk about is ice cream. Like everybody's favorite subject. So, I'm getting this visual, Daniel, of you setting your living room stage like Shark Tank and putting your parents in the armchairs. Like, tell us how you came up with this concept and how you pitched it to them.
Yeah. So, I think in my senior year at University of Florida, trying to decide what I was going to be doing next, looking towards medical school as an option for me. And had seen this and heard about this concept that they were doing outside of Orlando, where they're doing nitrogen ice cream, but by hand. So they were taking a bowl, pouring some cream, whisking, pouring liquid nitrogen in, and making ice cream on the spot. And I thought it was a really cool concept. I thought there were a lot of ways to make it more efficient and improve it. And coming from an entrepreneurial background, my parents both, had always owned their own business growing up, and I'd been in the office with them and helping them, growing up. So I thought, this is a really cool business idea, and I think it would do really well in South Florida, where I grew up and where my parents were living. So I did some research on the concept, kind of came up with a business plan, tasked some of my friends and kind of came up with what we thought would be a cool concept. And then I sat down with my mom and dad and pitched them the idea. We had, researched how much capital we would need to open a store, and looked at some locations that we liked, and yeah, we went through the numbers, and I was able to convince them to do an investment in that first store.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
It is cool. Okay, I gotta know from your perspective, Donna, being a mama myself, what was your first impression, your thought?
Well, I thought it was very exciting because there's nothing like it in Miami. So I always think if there's something unique and novel, that it could really be something. And so for that, I was very excited about it. And also I love entrepreneurship. It just is a passion of mine and just exciting. So it was exciting. And it really was something that his father was taking on this role with him and kind of mentoring him. So I was a part of it and I was excited for him. We had, gone through college and was going to go to medical school. So I still had, thoughts that he was going to go back and do his MCAT and, play with this, this little ice cream idea and see what happened. But which obviously is not happening as far as medical school. But I was excited for him, and we had high hopes that it really could be something.
It kind of cracks me up because we went to Hawaii once, my children, and my son said, you know what, I think we should create hot dog carts that we can take up and down the beach, and we would put chutney on the hot dogs, and it would be all this kind of papaya, mango, pineapple, kind of thing. And I got to tell you, it scared the poo-poo out of me. The idea, but for some
Yeah.
reason, you and your husband decided, yeah, let's go for it, and stepped up.
Yeah, that was exciting. And I mean, I'll let Danny continue the story, but unfortunately, his father passed away before the store opened. And so it was a really tough time for our family. And so that's when I really did step into the role more and was more actively involved in a lot of ways with a lot of things. And, it was a good focus for our family during a really tough time. And a lot of the branding and the things that I oversee now in the store, both of Danny's sisters are very big in graphic design and art, and everything that's designed in the culture and the branding of our store is from his sisters. So it really is a family affair from the inside out.
That is
So
so awesome.
yeah, and they continue, his younger sister especially continues and does a lot of the branding as a part of our marketing program. So
Daniel, I have a question for you. I think so many people don't have good mentors. I mean, what was it like having your dad, not only as your dad, but your biggest supporter and your mentor?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing upbringing. It's something we connected with, like just always, trips. The same story that Rebecca's just mentioning is, stories that I had growing up. When we went on vacation, oh, what about this? That would be a cool idea. Oh, what, my dad and I actually, even while I was in college, we started an audio company that we had a lot of fun working on together prior to chilling. And so it's just something we really connected with. It was just, he really enjoyed it. And, I guess that process of trying to figure it out, would it work, would it not work, was just, always something really enjoyable for both of us.
Wow.
Great way to bond too.
Mhm.
And it sounds like your dad and your mom nurtured that creativity in you by playing out the scenarios, whatever your cool ideas were. And then this one, we launched and got some investment and did what we needed to do to build it. But that your mind was fertile by watching your parents,
Mhm.
but also they entertained your ideas rather than squashing them, right?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Definitely encouraged. And, I think a lot of parents, I guess between choosing the options of, traditional route of, medical school and something like that. And I did take the MCAT. So I did, that was as far as I went, and got to that point. And I think a lot of the people, a lot of parents might not have been so as encouraging
Yeah,
as they were for me. So.
for sure.
Donna, what was your entrepreneurial background?
Well, um, when I met my husband, we worked for a medical company, and we both just really wanted to start our own company. But he is the one, honestly, that just, again, had that belief and that the drive and the having no fear, like
Mhm.
a lot of it is just not having the fear of failure. And he
Yeah.
just did not have the fear, like a failure, like what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And so we had, I think I was pregnant with Danny. We moved from California to Miami to start our own medical company. So we had that company for a long time, and he had a couple of patents under his name. And I worked with my husband, and we had our own business. So, and I always loved business, even in high school, like I always did things, I was a member of junior achievement. and always loved, and I'm still a big fan and supporter of junior achievement, because I just loved that part of business that I learned from them in high school.
Yeah, the
So
one in Fort Lauderdale,
no, I grew up in Oregon, and
the
so
junior achievement.
the
Yeah.
the program that I support is based out of Miami, but it may be out of Fort Lauderdale. That's the branch together.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all over the US.
Oh,
Junior
really?
achievement, yeah, it's all over the US.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
guys, I wanna know what this nitrogen thing is. So what makes chillin' unique, different? And can you kind of walk us through that ice cream making process? I want to be able to visualize it.
So yeah, we've kind of set up our store. Actually, it looks a little bit like a periodic table, kind of leaning into the science theme. And so you have different categories or families of ingredients to pick from. And so you kind of walk your way through the menu. It's a four-step process, starting with size. You then go to base. So we have, your standard ice cream base. You have a non-fat yogurt base. You also have three different alternative milk bases you can pick from. And then you go into your flavor or a combination of flavors if you want to combine flavors. And then the last step would be mix-ins, which actually get mixed into the ice cream. So you're getting to see kind of all as you pick your different elements from the board, you get to see all those ingredients come together, get put in a bowl, mixed and frozen with the liquid nitrogen right in front of you. And then, scooped into a cup. So every single cup in the store is made to order from the raw ingredients that would make up that ice cream. And so obviously the customization is big. People love to be able to pick exactly what they want. If, they can see on our menu if which items have dairy, which items, are gluten-free, so all these different ingredients that they can pick from. And then the cool thing about the nitrogen is you get this amazing smooth texture, because it's never been the product's never been in a freezer before. It's never sat, and kind of got picked up some of the freezer burn or the ice crystals that kind of grow. And so when you freeze something that fast, the ice crystals are like super small. They haven't had time to grow, and so that texture is like perfectly smooth.
Oh,
So yeah, people a lot of times, say, oh, it's kind of like gelato. That's a comparison we get a lot. It's a different recipe than gelato, but people kind of, that freshness that they get, kind of reminds people of that. So yeah, that's kind of the process in the store. It's very visual. We kind of when we were doing the business plan that we are talking about, we reference like the donut theater that Krispy Kreme has, where you get to see that process. That was
wow.
something that we thought kind of was a parallel there. So yeah.
It's
That's
like
incredible.
science though, right?
Mhm.
Because you pour a little this, you pour a little this, and you mix it up, and it really does feel like a science project by adding these different.
Yep.
Uh,
And it's a fun experience because of the smoke that goes down the counter as it's being made. So it's for the kids love it, and it's very experiential as well.
Mhm.
So
So
it's fun.
technically,
Yeah.
is nitrogen like a liquid or a gas? I'm just trying to like engage.
Yeah.
in-
So
Yeah.
nitrogen exists in the same three phases like water. It can be a liquid, gas, or even a solid. Um, but so it makes up 78% of the air we breathe. Nitrogen is naturally in the air. But when it's a liquid, it's negative 320 degrees. So
Whoa.
when it exists as a liquid, it's super, super cold. So what's happening is it's coming out of our machine, which are cryogenic dispensers, touching the ice cream, freezing it, and then turning back to a gas. And so it's just like freezing by contact and then turning into a gas and going back into the atmosphere. Uh, yeah, it is. People a lot of times get confused because they see like a clear liquid coming into the ice cream, like, oh, you're pouring water into it. And it's like, no, that's actually just pure liquid nitrogen. So, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like this idea that you have the three different types of milks, but coming up with the flavors and this process, how did that happen? How did you decide on the flavors or the mix-ins, I think you called it? How
Hmm.
did you decide on that? And was there anything when you put it out there that clients just like went gaga over, or any kind of surprises that then changed the menu?
Yeah, I think,
I'd like to say my
yeah,
my hot fudge recipe. I have a few
for
things
sure.
that are my recipes that we created from the beginning
Hmm.
that are quite popular. But the thing that I love is that we use no syrups. Everything is fresh, pure ingredients, which Danny's very big on. Like if it's peanut butter, it's a scoop of peanut butter. It's Nutella, it's a scoop of Nutella. It's the, you know, the raw ingredients that we use, which you can speak to, Danny, but it's just nice.
Yeah, yeah, and I think a lot of it's been driven. We've been by the kind of fans of the brand, as well as I would say even more so by the team. When you said what, in a flavor, one of the early on, one of the employees brought in, a tub of Nutella. They wanted to make Nutella ice cream. And now, we buy pallets of Nutella. Like it's just so popular. That's just, yeah, people just love it in South Florida. Nutella ice cream is like, probably our number two seller, sometimes our best
Mhm.
seller. Um, but it's been a lot of that just driven by, what people suggest. Some people still bring in their own mix-ins if they want specific things that they want to put in their ice cream, and we'll do it for them. So it's a lot of that. I don't think neither of us, my mom or I, really have like a big culinary background. So a lot of community driven stuff. And because the original store was just ice cream. I think we had like 7 or 8 flavors and probably like, I don't know, 15 different mix-ins. That was the initial concept. And from there, we've grown to add, things depending on what people like. So,
What do you think is the number one flavor at this point?
I mean, it's vanilla probably. We have a really good vanilla bean flavor. But Nutella is extremely popular and it's usually one of the two depending on the year. They're always pretty close.
What is it about vanilla that makes it so popular?
It's good. That's
Yeah.
what
It is
it is.
good. It's
And it's a
delicious.
really good base for like going to like other things. People can do vanilla with so many of the different mix-ins. It
Yeah.
works with the fresh fruit, it works with the chocolate, it works with,
Yeah.
the nuts, so like people really get really interested in making, different combinations and, their own unique equations basically.
I'm looking at ice cream a whole different way now.
Oh, it's so cool. I
Yeah.
love this trend, the Nutella trend. I was born and raised in Switzerland and, of course, raised on
Wow.
Nutella. So when it came to the US, of course, I was thrilled. Uh, and here in Northwest Arkansas, there's a Mexican place that makes their own ice cream, not nitrogen. I'm
Hmm.
going to have to check you guys out. And they use Nutella. And all my grandkids, when they come, can we go to your favorite ice cream place? So I can definitely get the Nutella,
Oh yeah.
which is of course a Nutella ice cream and
Yeah.
then nuts on top. So, okay, take me back. You started the business in 2012. Now we're franchising. What was that leap? How did you know it was the right time to start franchising? And what was the process of making that decision?
Mm.
Um, I can start on that one.
Okay.
So we opened, I want to say within the first 6 months, people were asking us about franchising. Like we had calls, oh, you got to franchise this business. And I felt like we don't even know what we're doing. So like, I want someone to, franchise. Like it was just such, I just felt like we had so much room for standardization and improvements. The concept was so kind of green at that point. And then, sorry, grab the
Business
here.
calls.
So it just was we just kind of felt like we need to keep growing this concept for a few more rounds. And I guess we decided to open a second store, and then that store did well. We decided to open a third store, and I guess little by little we felt like we were building the model to the point where we got to like I think we had 6 stores open and it was getting more and more difficult to operate for us and we kind of just were trying to decide, do we keep growing the structure or do we try to go the franchise route? And and at that point, we had a lot of people asking about franchising. We just felt like it was the right time. We felt comfortable with where the concept was and felt ready to kind of take that next step, as a brand.
That's so great that you didn't franchise too early. It sounds like you took your time with it, getting to really refine your product. How many stores do you have in South Florida?
So we have, we're opening number 11 in South Florida. Um, yeah, and the rest, kind of scattered in the Southeast. So.
Oh, so Donna, when you guys decided to make the leap to franchising, where was your head? Like, yeah, let's do it. Or did you see some potential challenges, and how did you get through those
We
challenges?
we had a lot of interest in franchising internationally, and that scared me. I was not too excited about that, and Danny had a lot of people bending his ear about that. And so I went to speak to some people that I respect a lot in the business and wanted to just kind of learn and gain information and kind of get some guidance and see if they would talk to Danny and just kind of mentor and guide us a little bit about next steps. And so the one gentleman met with Danny and they kind of introduced us to some people that are in franchising and in a roundabout way introduced us to David Leonardo, who is our CEO of franchising now. And it was just a great opportunity. He has the background that we don't have. He worked for big brands, Burger King, and um, what else, Danny? I'm not remembering.
Arby's, Pet Supply Plus, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just had a great relationship in the field and a background that was able to help us. And he was wanting to stay close in Miami and leave more of the big corporate area of those businesses, just having a baby and wanting to stay close. And so he was excited to take on the idea of a smaller concept and really be able to affect change from us, like a challenge in this way. So it was perfect for him and perfect for us. And it's just been a great family for us in that way. So I felt really good about the direction with that and getting the guidance and the connections because I was nervous about the international part of it and just kind of going full steam ahead in those ways, not having a team that I trusted.
Yeah.
It can get complicated, can't it?
Yeah.
So, Daniel, being so passionate about entrepreneurship as you are, do you ever go back to your alma mater, University of Florida, or will you go in the future to talk to young budding entrepreneurs and share your story with them?
I haven't done as much with University of Florida. I've done, to my high school, which is local here, and done some work and talked to, groups if they've asked me to. So that's been fun. And we still do a lot of events with them. And so we have a good connection there for sure. And I think that's like even more so like the staff, is so many high school and college kids, and a lot of them, work with us through high school and college. Some of them we hired after they finished college to be full time, and that's like just such a fun thing to see. Whether they stay with us or go on to do something else, it's just always fun to see kind of the young people develop. And I think I think a lot of them get some experiences that they don't get elsewhere by working in the store and having that responsibility. And I don't know, I think it's been super enjoyable, probably something I didn't anticipate as much, just getting to see kind of the team grow and kind of the connections with the team, and seeing people, grow as, adults now. And yeah, it's very cool.
That's a good point, getting them young, because, in high school, they're looking at doctor, lawyer, a couple of in between, but, they're first beginning to teach entrepreneurship in schools. So it's great that you're giving them that exposure. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Let's talk about your relationship. Okay. This brand came about because of a partnership with your parents, Daniel. How do you balance that relationship, your emotional bond, with your business decisions?
Um, I think it can be challenging at times for sure. And I think, you know, I think I personally, I think I have a pretty good like a way of compartmentalizing, the business and family and trying to, keep those things separate. I feel like I try to do that. I feel like that helps keep me balanced with things. But it is still can be challenging at times. I think what's been successful for us is just kind of like being structured and understanding what everyone's roles are, and trying to support each other in their roles and not necessarily trying to like do the other person's job. Um, I think that's, created a little bit more healthy relationship, in kind of the workplace. And then hopefully that translates into like outside of the workplace as well.
Yeah, and I would add that from the very beginning, like I just kind of tried to stay in my own lane, like and let Danny have the operational side of it and be the face of Chillin. Like from the beginning, he was very young when he started this. And so I just wanted for him to be recognized as the person that really developed this, and it was his idea. And so I was a co-founder with him, but really it was his idea, and so of course supported him, and but really wanted him to be the face of it and be up front. So we kind of had our own lanes, and I was more behind the scenes and supporting and he was more upfront in the face of things. So and we've continued that to some degree, but as we've gotten busier, we kind of, intermix with different parts of operations and different things, just because of, as we've gotten busier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think was each of your own unique personal challenges or areas of growth from the time that you started the business until now? What would you say is like that one thing that, like, even had I known sooner, or what I would share with future entrepreneurs?
I guess I'm still learning this, but I would say that to learn to delegate better.
Oh, yes.
I think women tend to be able to wear a lot of hats and want to, manage things and can manage a lot of things, but to surround yourself with probably, know your own gifts and surround yourself with people that are even smarter than you, that have talents and learn to delegate better. And I'm still learning that, but that's what I would say would be my challenge and my quest.
I think for me, um, it's like I've always like had the passion for the project and like the vision. I think the organization side, being organized and making sure, um, we have like the structure and the kind of and following a plan a little bit more, as we've gotten bigger, and having people that do that really well come on board, that are very structured and keep us on task. I think is something that's been really helpful and something I probably would have been beneficial to have earlier on in the process, because it's easy, I think it's easy to get like passionate about the project and then like not do the kind of blocking and tackling and X's and O's to kind of get get it across the finish line. And get distracted with something else that's also exciting to look at, as an option. So
Sparky
yeah.
butterflies.
Yeah. It's interesting because this is a common issue for entrepreneurs. right? They're the visionaries, they're the ideal people. And if we don't have those that can execute and create the structure, then it becomes a whole lot of ideas that don't get executed. So it sounds like you've built a really good team, the two of you around. Now you use the word passion, and I want to talk more about passion and purpose, obviously, which is oftentimes a topic that we talk about here on the Franchise Woman podcast. So, what values or mission drives you beyond just profit? And how do you see purpose show up in Chillin's culture or even in your community engagement?
Um, yeah, I think for me, the seeing the growth, and not necessarily just like growth in stores, but growth in like the brand and growth in the process. I think that's like been where I found the most success, whether it's like, continuing to drive like the efficiencies and like find new ways to do things better, or seeing the team build and seeing them like, finding ways to make them, execute better, make their jobs work better. Um, I think those are like the things that give me the most like satisfaction, and kind of seeing the vision come to life and, and work. That those are like I guess what I get excited about with the brand, for the most. I still feel like we're still in a field that hasn't really been like, standardized and like, and pushed across the country like some other, kind of QSR categories, which, it's hard to find, you feel like they've already like checked all the boxes and figured it all out. So that part of it's always a lot of fun for me.
It does sound like fun. Donna, how about you? What what drives you? What are your values? What is your mission? And how do you see it affecting the culture of the business?
Well, like our goal is, to bring happiness one cup at a time. So like when people come into the store, they're coming into the store, they're not coming in because their iPhone is broken or they're going into the doctor. They're coming in, they should be coming in happy because they're coming in to get ice cream. So, our goal is that, they're coming in, they're having a great experience, and they should leave happier, even happier than when they came in. So, that's what we try to bring the culture, train the employees, and to bring that into the experience when the customers come into the store. And something that I enjoy a lot is to engage in the community, and I help a lot with the catering events and setting up events in the community and doing things like that. And I just enjoy that a lot, like the partnerships and um, doing things like that, that I think really brings loyalty and brings customers and keeps the loyalty and brings people into the store, from the community. And I think that makes a big difference. So that's something that I enjoy, and I think, it makes a difference.
It does.
Yeah.
That's,
To give, to give back to people.
that's so interesting because earlier you were mentioning, Donna, that you wanted Daniel to be the face of the company. And the truth of the matter is you both are in your own different ways, because
Mhm.
as you're saying, you're so involved with the community and building that brand out in the public. It's very cool.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's something that kind of evolved as we've gotten busier because it was just a need for it. And as I've worked with, my title really is the branding officer. So as I've worked with branding and the mission and all of that, it just sort of evolved. So yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Again, it's beautiful
Yeah.
mother and son relationship, but business partners where you're playing off of your strengths. What about the future? What does that look like? Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years?
Hmm. Well, hopefully, hopefully we've grown across a lot more stores across the United States. not sure, Danny, how you feel internationally now. But we're excited to continue to grow. We're in the process of working on some deals now that we're hoping to close, that growing some near future ones. And Danny, what would you say goals for 5 years, 10 years for yourself?
Yeah, I think obviously the growth of the store count is important as a franchisor, and kind of that growth. I think continuing. I'd love to. There's some fun kind of technology elements that we want to implement in the store as things continue to evolve, and trying to use all the the new things that are being discovered, whether AI or different things in the production side, to help make the process easier for the team, and give allow them to continue to focus on the customer, and have that ice cream process just be really really easy to execute. So yeah, just some fun new technology things, and obviously yeah, growth in the store. We launched nationwide delivery, which is kind of a cool thing, which we're just starting to get going, which I think will be really cool. So yeah, just continuing to evolve as a brand for sure.
So the big
Okay.
question, are you still considering international growth?
I don't think it would have to be. I think as we've learned, and with franchising, especially, we've really learned the value of the partner that you're bringing on to the business.
Yeah.
And so I think it would have to be a special partner that really just kind of checked all the boxes, and we just really felt like fit really well with the culture, and was just we couldn't say no to type of situation, I would say. It's not something we're actively seeking, because there's so much opportunity in our own backyard, and which is kind of a more known commodity for us. So, but yeah, who knows if it's the right partner? I think that would be definitely interesting.
Great answer.
It's interesting, and I think a compliment that I think every one of our franchises, except for one, was a customer.
Nice.
So that's, that it wasn't like,
Yeah.
from the outside, it was a customer first. So was nice, a nice thing.
That speaks volumes.
It really does. I want to backtrack just a little bit, Daniel, because I love that you talked about the technology and the innovation. That's a big part of what will continue to have you grow and differentiate yourself. So your mind is already there in different market niches or delivery systems or whatever. You're already, out there 5, 10 years, and you'll be prepared for it when it's time to execute on those ideas. That entrepreneurial spirit remains alive even after all these years. All right, crazy question. What is your personal favorite ice cream from your own menu?
I'll go first. My favorite is Cuban coffee with Heath bar
Ooh.
and my hot fudge.
Okay, I need to come there.
Oh,
Lots of hot fudge.
Yummy. Oh my God, yummy.
coffee, Heath bar, and hot fudge.
Yes.
That's amazing. How about you, Daniel?
Yeah, it's a question we get a lot. And I feel like, we're so intentional with every flavor on there that it's hard sometimes. But I definitely similarly, I love the hot fudge. So for me, I'll go with like certain combinations of, like, I think peanut butter hot fudge, just really simple, is always like one of my like just go-tos. And either that, or I like the dulce de leche with brownie. It's another like good combination that I usually go with. And my probably the recent favorite is our pistachio. I think it's just, even just the pistachio plain without mix-ins is just, it's just really, really good. We've worked really hard on that one. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's brought in from Italy. So the flavor it's delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am getting hungry and I miss lunch.
Yeah.
You need to fly down here, Rebecca. We need to go to the store together.
I know, I know. We need to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be there. It's a simple flight. I'll be there overnight, so this will be kind of
There you
cool.
go.
So, you mentioned, Donna, that we're serving happiness one cup at a time. And my head started to come up with some kind of a jingle or song that would echo that.
Don't make me sing for you.
Oh, come on. Do we have a song that or a jingle that you're already
We're
using?
gonna have to work on a jingle. No, we do
Yeah.
not have a jingle.
We need a
Yeah, I mean, because that's an incredible mission, happiness one cup at a time. That would make a wonderful,
You're
crazy
right. I
jingle.
love that. I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
I'll have to task
Uh,
the team. I'm sure there's some
yeah.
musical talent within the the
They'll be
chill.
doing some TikTok things for that.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
contest, a contest.
There you go.
That's a good idea, Tracy. There's places you can do that, like Fiverr and other places that you could do a contest.
No, I mean
There
like
you
a
go.
customer contest.
There
Ooh,
you
even
go.
better. Yeah.
Yep. If it happens, we'll let you know.
Yeah, please let us know so we can air it for you.
It's
Great.
funny.
So, advice. What advice would you give to other parent, child, brother, sister, family kind of situation? What advice would you give that are thinking about doing what you're doing, thinking about going in business, thinking about being entrepreneurs, being franchisors
Yeah.
even? What advice would you give?
Well, if for me, I would just say if as the person, if you were feeling that, the drive, or if you're feeling that in your heart, just not to have fear, like to not to be afraid to fail, and just to put your heart into it and your passion, and to not to be afraid to fail, and as a parent, to always support your child, and um, you know, I think that you have to support. A lot of times these days, it seems like many kids go unconventional routes
Mhm.
with their education or after their education, and it's different sometimes. So you have to support your children.
And be open-minded, right?
Yeah,
The part
yeah,
of
in
it.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, on that direction, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
How about you, Daniel? What advice would you give others that are family members that are considering going into business together?
Um, I think the really um I think a big thing for us was like utilizing our own like network of people and really reaching out, because I think sometimes I thought, at least initially, like um oh, so and so wouldn't want to talk to me, or and it's very interesting, like we had such a great like network of people just through my mom and through people we know who had very successful food brands, who were more than happy to sit down and talk to me about what we were trying to do. And that gave me like a lot more perspective on the business, the dynamics of the business, and helped like kind of, I guess get a feel for how we could operate, because there's, I think a family business, especially in the food space, is, far from unique. It's more probably commonplace in a lot of cases. So like, I think utilizing your network of whoever that is, and in your community, and or just creating a network by going out and reaching out to people, like especially like entrepreneurs are always, in my experience, more than willing to share and help,
Mhm.
more than you would anticipate, at least for me. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Wowza, you guys are fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
Fabulous. I want to thank you for joining us. And before we leave, I want to make sure folks know how to get hold of you if they're interested in being a part of Chillin as a franchisee or even an employee. How would they get hold of you?
The best way is just the website, chillin.com, chillon.com. Yeah, that's got all of our information, all of our locations, if they're interested in visiting a store. It's got, the about us and obviously some information on franchising if that's something they're looking at. So yeah, just I would say the website is the best way. Or make your way to one of the stores. I think, kind of see the process and see the product.
Yeah. So Donna, I gotta say, your unconditional love and support and mentoring, either consciously or unconsciously, is to be really applauded. It gave your son this opportunity to think outside the box and go, like you said, an unconventional way. And even though it was unconventional, you went along for the ride and you invested time and energy and everything.
And treasure. Yeah.
You're just amazing.
Oh,
Daniel, you too,
thank you.
you understand that you were wired to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And to think, oh, I'm going to go the medical route, I'm going to be a doctor, and to literally, that's like 180 degrees opposite where
Yeah.
you're going. And yet you trusted yourself that that was your calling, or that was where you should be, that it would make the highest and best use of your talent and the way your brain kind of works. So I love you guys' story. It's just a beautiful,
Yeah.
Yeah.
beautiful.
His dad would be very proud of him.
His dad would be very, very proud of him. There's no
Yeah.
That was part of my wrap up, is I was
Oh, sorry.
thinking that your husband and his dad would be really proud that the two of you stayed the course, that the two
Thank
of
you.
you really, worked out the kinks and grew something and didn't give up with his passing. And the other thing is, like, God laid the word respect on my heart. Like, I feel like the two of you really have a certain respect, not only for yourselves, but for each other and each other's place within the organization and each other's ideas. But I think that's also what extends to your customers, your team, even treating mentors as like extended family. There's a lot of respect, which also to me gives me this sense of peace. Like I don't feel like we're interviewing you. I feel like we're just chilling.
Aw.
I feel like we're just chilling, this really beautiful sense of respect and peace and growth. And yeah, I think he'd be really proud of both of you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
What a beautiful legacy.
Mhm.
A beautiful legacy. So thanks
Thank
again, guys, for joining us. It means a lot to us and to our listeners.
Thank
And
you.
of course, guys, make sure you like, comment, share Donna and Daniel Golik's interview today. And we'll see all of you next week on another episode of the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks.